Was there something unusual that happened regarding Mr. Ford that day?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I had happened to be in the kitchen. My son was out on the porch, and my son called me to the window. He said, "Mom, come here quickly." He said, "This looks kind of strange." And he saw Stanley moving some barricades that the police had set up. And he would put his gloves on when he would move the barricades and then take them off to pull his vehicle out and put the gloves back on to put the barricades back where they were blocking the driveway.
All right, and those barricades were police barricades?
Yes.
And they were there because of the fire, is that fair?
That's correct.
All right. And that seemed unusual to you?
It did.
Some of the testimony today from neighbors of the defendant. Stanley Ford is his name. He's accused of murdering 9 people by setting 2 homes on fire, 9 victims, including 5 children. And a lot of this testimony is from neighbors. And think about this case. It's really about a neighborhood, right? There's housings burning down in this neighborhood, and people are dying. And it's one of the neighbors who's accused of doing it all. So what exactly is going on in that neighborhood, and what type of person is Stanley Ford, or how did his neighbors see him before all of this? Well, Beverly Ewing is one of those neighbors who testified today, and it was interesting. She recounted a time when the defendant referred to himself as an angel of God. Take a listen.
Your husband, you mentioned that you've been married over 20 years. He, during that time period, 15, 16, and 17, where did he work? What geographical location?
He worked in West Virginia.
All right. So did he travel out of state a lot?
Yes.
And do you know whether Mr. Ford was ever aware of that?
I believe he did.
And why do you believe that?
He told me that he would watch over our house and keep an eye on it.
All right. And did he give you his cell phone number and your children's cell phone number?
He did.
All right. And that was in an effort, if you needed anything while your husband was away, that he would be there for them, for you and them.
Correct. That's correct.
You said you go to church. What faith are you?
Protestant.
Christian?
Yes.
Okay. And did he ever talk to you about what anything about his, I guess, belief as to his position in the neighborhood?
He recalled to us one time and told us that he felt like God had placed him in that area as he was like an angel of God to watch over the neighborhood.
And at that time, you felt that was comforting, correct?
Yes.
Angel of God to watch over the neighborhood, and now he's accused of burning down homes and murdering people. So what exactly and who exactly is this guy? Let's bring in Court TV crime and justice reporter Joy Lim Akron, who is live tonight from Akron, Ohio. Joy, great to see you. What's the picture that the jury's getting from all these neighbors about Stanley Ford? Is he like the greatest neighbor ever? Does he have a great reputation? Was this a guy who was, feuding with his neighbors? Was he a grouch? Who was Stanley Ford before these allegations?
Yeah, so there's a real dichotomy that's been set up here. You hear from neighbors such as Beverly Ewing, and then yesterday we heard from another neighbor who was in her 70s, also self-described as Christian, who led a quiet lifestyle, just like Beverly Ewing. And by these accounts, Ford was relatively friendly towards them and neighborly, right? But he also made it clear that he took issue with neighbors such as Lindell Lewis, who he considered kind of bad neighbors, right? These neighbors that were considered wild in the community. And, when we heard the, folks associated with Lindell Lewis take the stand, they described Stanley Ford as having been extremely hostile to them. We heard from Terrence Sibley late yesterday, who was a friend of Lindell Lewis, and described a very tense encounter, described Stanley Ford as being very rude and combative. So what we're kind of getting, what this picture is developing on behalf of the prosecution, is just that this is a man, Stanley Ford, who is nice to what he considers good neighbors and takes issue with neighbors who he thinks are bad, and in fact has such an extreme view on that he actually kills them.
Yeah, that's really gets to the heart of this, right? On the one extreme, you're an angel of God. You couldn't be better. You couldn't be more goodness than being someone who was sent down by God to protect the neighborhood, but as part of protecting the neighborhood, killing neighbors. This is extreme behavior. So, was he ever in trouble before, do we know? Were there any brush-ups or problems? Sometimes there's the guy in the neighborhood who's always either calling police, or there's the guy in the neighborhood who's telling the kids to get off the lawn, or whatever it is. Did any of that happen before these fires, before these murders?
So it didn't sound like it, according to testimony of his neighbors, especially the neighbors who he seemed to have good relationships with. These two female witnesses who are both Christian and say that they live quiet lifestyles. They didn't have complaints about Stanley Ford, and you hear Ms. Ewing describe how she actually thought that his view of himself and his role in the neighborhood was comforting at the time. It's only in retrospect that she realizes, that his view of himself as the protector may have been what led him to drive out or kill those who he thought were a threat to the neighborhood.
Yeah, this extreme behavior, one direction or the other, is always something that's a little bit of a red flag. And yes, there's great people out there, but sometimes you got to take a closer look. All right, I want to bring in the think tank now, get a little reaction to this. Eklund Mercy, Nima Rahmani, Kirk Nurmi with us. Nima, you got a guy like this in your neighborhood?
Yeah, he's a problem, Vinny. I mean, he killed 9 people, including 5 children. And let's talk about some of the statements he made. He didn't like these people because of homosexuality. He said they were drug dealers, there were prostitutes there. And he takes it upon himself. Let's not forget, this is 2 arsons, right? But there was a 3rd failed arson and a 4th involving a vehicle. This guy is a problem. And even the judge in the case knew it before trial. She tried to have a competency hearing. He resisted and refused. His attorneys tried to negotiate a deal to take the death penalty off the table there in Ohio. He refused to cooperate with them. So this guy's combative across the board. Now, I'm still waiting for some of the direct evidence to come in to tie him to these killings, but there's no question that he's not very likable, and that's what the state is trying to do right now. Show someone who's very combative, who's very aggressive and not likable, and again, another arrogant defendant that if he's convicted, it will be because of his own doing.
Now, Kirk, the angel of God, right, where that label that he's giving himself comes out in the context of doing something good, something nice, but still, anyone to refer to themselves as an angel of God has a very extreme view. To me, red flag.
You're right. I agree, Vinny, and I agree with what Nima just said. I mean, there's a certain amount of arrogance or hubris coming along with the idea that you're calling yourself an angel of God. And the de facto part of that might be that you feel like you can do whatever you want, that you feel like you have God's word, you have God's permission to commit these crimes. And if the evidence shows it, like Nima said, 3 or 4 fires, he believes that he can do this. This is his modus operandi, and that this is okay with God. And this may be related to his competency issues and why he's not working with his attorney. And like Nima, I want to see some more direct evidence tying him to this. But certainly there's the kind of hubris there that would make me think that this sort of behavior is something that this man is capable of.
And now it's time for Eklund Mercy to tell us why this angel of God is truly an angel.
Mental health is real. Okay, so mental health is
I agree.
real.
I agree.
that coupled with whatever he's watching, we don't know what type of news organizations he's watching. We don't know what he's listening to. We have no idea. But we all are aware of those neighbors that just do entirely too much, that are too noisy, that are too nosy, that are in everybody's business. He is not out of the ordinary with that. We all have that annoying neighbor. Howsoever, when it comes to setting things on fire, we're going to need more evidence than the fact that he's calling himself Angel of God. We have YouTube clips and we have things that have gone viral of seeing neighbors just completely lose their sanity at other neighbors for either their hedges, their cars, their what have you. So that actually happens. Now, to the point of burning houses, I don't see, I need more evidence. So I need the state to stop trying to just make a case on his character and make an actual case.
All right. It will continue right here on your front row seat to justice.